All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Virtual Doctors Night Out. And I would like to introduce our host, Dr. Kellyann.
Hello, everyone. And again, thank you for joining us for another episode of Doctors Night Out. Tonight is a really special night because I am bringing one of the foremost doctors in the treatment of cancer. She's an integrative doctor. Her name is Dr. Leigh Erin Connealy, and she is the author of The Cancer Revolution, which I highly recommend, by the way, and medical director of the Cancer Center for Healing and the Center for New Medicine. She's a prominent leader in the field of integrative medicine, and she utilizes all the best sciences out there: modern medicine, Eastern medicine, homeopathic medicine, conventional medicine. This woman does it all. And again, she has the largest integrative medical clinic in North America and has been visited by over 47,000 patients. 47,000 patients. Dr. Connealy is the author, again, of 2 books, The Cancer Revolution, and prior to that, Be Perfectly Healthy, and has revolutionized the landscape of medicine. And in 2017, she was named one of the top 50 functional and integrative doctors in the country. And I have to say, Dr. Connealy, you and I, well, we go back and have a lot of love and respect for each other for different reasons. You know, I have been fortunate enough to not only know you as a person, but I've also been able to witness what you do in your clinic firsthand. And by the way, her clinic, just to give you perspective, it's literally the size of a shopping mall. This is what she has built. And I will say the work I've seen there, it's kind of work that we're accustomed to seeing. You know, we think about high-level cancer treatment that's, you know, not just conventional. We think, well, we have to go to Mexico, we have to go to Germany, we have to go to Switzerland. Well, the work that they're doing there is so above anything that I've seen and even heard about in so many different countries, and it's right there in Irvine, California. So again, these are groundbreaking cancer treatments. And what I've noticed, you know, again, I had the gift and pleasure of actually seeing all of this in action. And I will tell you that the patients that leave there after they've gone through their treatment, which I found absolutely profound, not only were they going in the right direction with their cancer, as was evidenced by the empirical data that was set forth in the clinic, but they also, a lot of them left healthier than they've been in a long time, maybe ever. And they even looked younger when they left. And I found that really interesting. And, you know, I believe, Dr. Connealy, that you really operate in the quantum. And that's how you've been able to build and amass this unbelievable clinic and have helped as many as you have. And you truly are a true seeker. And welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Kellyann. And, you know, we always talk about all these great, wonderful things that someone accomplish it, but they accomplish it with really because of a mission that's planted in them from early on. And it's usually a God mission, as you know, because you wouldn't work, you know, a jillion hours a week and do what you do. And then it's really a combination of the life suffering that you have to enlighten you, to open up. Because I always tell people, reading about a disease in a book, that's like really easy, but living it, breathing it, consuming it, learning about it, and mastering it is another story.
And it is all consuming. And one of the things that I always say is I have these brilliant, you know, women on these interviews. I call them my tigers, and these are women that are so extraordinary, and you definitely are one of these tigers. And I just kind of want to open things up by asking, and you partially answered it in your little snapshot there, but what has given you the bravery to tackle probably, I would say, the most difficult and the most heartbreaking genre in all of medicine and build this empire of healing? You know, and by the way, she has 7 children, guys, 7 children. So she has done all of this by being this really principled and wonderful, loving mother. So what has given you that bravery?
Well, I think part of it might be a little bit genetic, but probably more importantly is I'm number 3 of 6 children. And when my mother was pregnant with me, she started to bleed. And of course, any pregnant woman would see their doctor. And her doctor at the time said, we have this great drug that will prevent you from bleeding and prevent you from losing the baby. So that drug was called DES, and that was given to women in the 50s to prevent miscarriage. So 16 years later, I get notice from my parents that my mother took a drug when she was pregnant with me, and that I would have to go to the local cancer institution. At the time, it was MD Anderson, because I grew up in Houston, Texas, to start to get a full evaluation. And they were studying all the effects, because the effects were cancer in both male and female offspring, and anatomical problems, and hormone problems, and infertility problems, all kind of things. And I pretty much had everything. My last episode was 18 hours. I don't even know if you know this, but 18 hours of back surgery in Germany last year. So 14 in April.
Not know that.
Yeah, 4 in July. And so I had scoliosis as a result of the DES. And so I had done every kind of treatment for the scoliosis, everything you can imagine. There isn't anything that I haven't done. So I became an expert in pain and in scoliosis, but back pain in general. So I always tell people, there's nothing I can't fix for pain, you know, because when you've suffered, when they told me in medical school that I would need a surgery and it would be a year out of my life. And I said, well, I don't have time for that. So, you know, about 35 years later, I go to Germany, and people say, well, why would you go to Germany? Well, the best guy in the world is in Germany, and he is a master, and I am living proof of it. I have a perfectly straight back, first time in my life. And I have recovered, knowing all the things I know to do, because obviously you don't just recover from a surgery going through things like that without knowing all the steps to prepare your mind, body, and spirit for surgery. So I planned 3 hours in advance. 3 months in advance. And then of course I knew what to do, because after my surgery, I couldn't even walk. So, you know, it wasn't like a little thing. So anyway, but these things have taught me how to fight for patients, because most of the time when you go to a physician, they don't listen a lot. And most of the time they don't listen because they think it's just a simple little problem, and you just prescribe a drug and then you should be done. Well, nothing in the world that matters is that simple. Okay, I'm 63. It just doesn't happen. So medicine has got to be, we have to reform medicine. We have to, because United States ranks 43rd in the world in healthcare. We are the sickest people, paying the most money, and people are maybe have a lifespan, but they don't have a health span. And most diseases, in 1988, the Surgeon General, that 70% of illnesses of cancer were caused by what we eat. But what are we doing to change the grocery stores and change what people are exposed to with what they can buy and eat? So the consumer has to learn this: what is food, what matters in food, what kind of food you eat. And this is, you know, absolutely. And what doctor ever talks to a patient about food? Okay, something that you do. And actually there was a big thing, I don't know if it was the Wall Street Journal or New York Times. The guy said that the biggest determining factor of your health is what is on your fork. So, but what doctor tells any patient, whether they have cancer or any other chronic illness, that what are you eating? I ask my patients what they are eating. Okay.
You do. And I have to say, and, you know, my business has been nutrition for over, 20, 25 years now. And I have to say, people sit across from me, and as you know, they come in oftentimes aimless with a chart this thick. They've been everywhere. Oftentimes we become the last stop doc or the last stop option for them. And it really has always struck me that through their whole path, their whole scenario, they've never been asked what they're eating. They've never been asked what they're eating. And, and that kind of wraps us into this whole idea of you being this revolutionary cancer doctor and really speaking towards lifestyle in terms of how we can kick this. But let's talk about preventing this. And I think it's so fascinating, and I want everyone to really hear this. One of the things that you affirm is that, you know, there's a long time before cancer actually impacts our body, which means that you have this incredible window of opportunity. So we need to hear this, and we need to know, what can we do if cancer cells start thinking about forming in our body? And if we've got, say, a 10-year window, what do we do to stop it dead in its track?
Right. This is something I think about all the time, because I'm on Instagram, and, you know, I wasn't ever digital, and now I'm really trying to get digital. But anyway, because this is the biggest point that I want to make to your listeners and anyone out there in the world today, is that prevention is priceless. The cure for cancer is prevention. 1 out of 2 people are being diagnosed with cancer. I ask every single one of my patients, well, tell me, what was your symptoms the day before you were diagnosed? Nothing. So most of the time, the patient has nothing going on in their life. They're not in pain. They're not in distress. And here in 1 second, they're being told they have stage 4 cancer or stage whatever cancer. And so we know doctors can do preventive medicine and preventive analysis of testing. So let's talk about those testing. Well, the first testing, because a lot of people, I will tell you, may be completely normal on blood work and have cancer. So I always tell people, don't go by your blood work. Do not let a doctor tell you, oh, you've got a perfect bill of health. In fact, the recent studies show that a physical exam and an annual physical exam really doesn't matter, okay? It's like 10,000 mammograms that over 10 years, we saved 3 people. Hello, this obviously paradigm is not working, but no one's willing to make changes immediately, because changing the medical system is like trying to turn an ocean liner. So, but what you can do yourself is verify, verify, verify. And today's where we pretty much can order our own tests, you know, a lot of the time. One of the biggest things you can do is, 1, find a functional integrative doctor, because they're all going to do pretty much the right test. Now, you got to find a doctor, because I always tell patients, there's functional doctors who have like a small toolkit, and then there's integrative functional doctors. You know, I've been doing this for 34 years. So, and I started out with a nutritionist and acupuncturist 34 years ago. So I've been doing it a long time, because you do not learn all this in a day or a week or a weekend course or even a year course. It takes years and years and years of learning all these new modalities, herbs, whatever. But anyway, so if you do blood tests, the 3 biggest things you want to look at your blood test is your C-reactive protein, which is a non-specific marker for inflammation. If you have inflammation, your level should be less than 0.5. If it's not, there's a problem. If it's over 1, I start investigating. Your vitamin D level needs to be over 50. Your hemoglobin A1C, which is a reflection of your blood sugar over 90 days, should be about 5.0 to 5.1. If it's in the 4s, it's excellent. If it's 5.1, I'm okay. Anything over 5.4, we know you have a sugary environment. Well, we know that cancer is sugary, low oxygen, and acidic environment. So those are blood testing anyone can order themselves. Go to an integrative doctor. I do not think that the routine testings for a female, if we're talking about females, of getting a mammogram and a pap smear they don't recommend real regularly now. Mammogram, now they've decreased it to every other year, because mammograms cause radiation, and they're saying that the more mammography, you have lots of 70% false positive rates, so you create all of this scariness and fearfulness in the patient, and it's really nothing. Plus, you're going to probably miss 50% of pathology just doing a mammography. So I will tell patients, just don't do a mammography. A pap smear may or may not be helpful, but what about all the other cancers? Pancreatic cancer, you're not going to pick up on a blood test. Lung cancer, you're not going to pick up on a blood test. Uterine cancer, you're not going to pick up on a blood cancer. I mean, any other cancer, you're not. Now, they did change colonoscopy now to 45, but the biggest age group is 25 to 35-year-olds, so you've just missed everybody. So why I'm telling you this is that don't rely on any kind of conventional norm of testing, because it's going to miss most things. Now, the other testing you can do besides the routine blood testing, there's a blood test I use out of Florida from American Metabolic Laboratories. It's called the Cancer Profile. It'll check quantitative HCG, which is the hormone of pregnancy and malignancy. It checks your DHEA sulfate, which is your hormone of stress, immune, and longevity. It checks GGT, which is your liver. It checks CEA, which is a non-specific tumor marker. And it checks one of the most important markers that I still do on patients is something called PHI, the enzyme of hypoxia. Again, Otto Warburg got a Nobel Prize 1931 that cancer thrives in low oxygen. That they're able to make their little bit of the ATP just by low oxygen. So that is a marker. So if a patient has hypoxia, then they're going to have this environment to grow cancer or for cancer not to disappear. So then the other testing that you do after that, I do in my clinic, ultrasounds, thermograms, all these, non-invasive, non-harming forms of evaluation. Thermograms have been around for about 70 years, all right? I have monographs on the whole history of thermograms. Again, I don't just go by one thing. I'm always like triple checking myself. So if a patient gets a mammogram, I go, okay, we're going to do a thermogram. What's the difference? A thermogram will tell me vascularity. Cancers get a blood supply. Cancer starts with one little abnormal cell, one abnormal cell, okay? That is nothing. Then it starts to grow until it hunkers down and gets a blood supply. So it uses you as their blood supply. Well, breasts are not vascular. So if we have vascularity, we know, there may be something not right. So you can follow that and you can change that. Everything's about changing the environment of every cell. Because remember, again, cancer starts with one abnormal cell in the perfect conditions to create cancer.
But you're not saying don't get a mammogram. What you're saying is that you need adjunct as well.
Correct. You cannot do it with just
anything. You're saying what you're saying is you can't take a microscopic look at the body and expect to get the answer.
Right. Exactly. So then, so that's the cancer profile. So routine blood test, imaging like ultrasound, thermogram, any kind of things like that are, well, the conventional is PET scan, CT, MRIs, and I do all those too, depending on the condition, okay? You start with simple, non-invasive, non-intrusive things that don't cost a lot of money, time, and energy, and don't scare the patient, because going into a radiology center is scary. I'm sorry, it is scary, okay? I don't care what anyone says. Going to the doctor is scary. Let's try to make this a real warm, fuzzy, comfortable experience, okay? Then I do a testing called bioenergetic testing. So energy precedes action. Aristotle says that everything is energy. This is not a philosophy. This is physics. So people have a very difficult time with understanding energy. I just tell people, I'm in a room of oxygen right now, but you and I don't see the oxygen, but we know it's there, because we are all bioenergetic molecules. We know that for a fact. EKG is energy, EEG is energy, but you have acupuncture points in your fingers and toes that correspond to every organ in your body. So I'm looking for interference fields in your body, because our body is supposed to be in this beautiful homeostasis that very few of us are in, but we're trying to do that. Okay, and so that will help me pick up things that I can't find in a blood test, or I can't find in a scan, or I can't find in a urine, or I can't find in a stool test. Not everything can be found in conventional technology. So German machines started out with Nikola Tesla. This is nothing new. It's just expanded and getting bigger and bigger all the time. Look what they're trying to do with AI now. I mean, there is so much now being done with this. So people need to not discount this. And I always tell people, even if it gives me 10% information, I am going to help you with that percent, okay? So if you came in and you had chest pain, and I did an EKG and I did a chest x-ray and I did blood work and I found nothing, that still means we haven't solved the problem. Okay. We don't know the problem. Like a patient came into me today with a leiomyosarcoma, which is a tumor of the muscle. It's a devastating cancer. And I said, well, tell me, did you have any symptoms? He says, I went to the doctor with shortness of breath. And they told me it was his varicose veins. I go, varicose veins and shortness of breath? I said, well, did they do a chest x-ray? Did they do that? They did nothing. And then 4 months later, of course, he got worse. So when a patient comes in, it is a doctor's responsibility to figure out that puzzle as soon as possible. And if you haven't figured it out in a month, that means you better find another person to help you figure out the puzzle.
Did everyone hear that? Did everyone hear that? You see, this is the problem, and this is the reason why we're one of the sickest countries. This is one of the reasons, because we tend to go to places or get information that from a very narrowest point of view, and the point is, this is detrimental to the body. So just one test alone, just blood test, that's not enough, right? You have to take it a step further and take it a step further. And you have got to have one of these truth seeker type doctors, one of these doctors that really have the context and the information to keep filling in the spots in that algorithm. This is a big algorithmic pattern. This is yes, then here. This is no, then here. And they have to know the complete pattern in order for you to get the answers, because unsolved answers or unknowns, that's what shows up henceforth and gets people in trouble. And that's what you see.
Right. That's exactly right. And so people can't take no for an answer. They
can't take no for an answer. We're getting questions in, by the way, and please feel free. We have the world's forward authority on cancer treatment and the cancer revolution. So if you do have questions, we are welcoming questions. We're going to get to those shortly because we have so much to cover. One of the things that you say, Dr. Connealy, and I love this, you talk about nutrition and you say that every morsel of food you eat, it either creates healthy, energetic cells or dead, bad cells. So give us the do's and don'ts.
Okay, well, the number one, first of all, get off sugar, get off junk, get off dead food. Okay, this is just really, really, really simple. I mean, if people just got off sugar, they would be doing themselves the best service of all, okay? But we got to get off, this is unfortunately, the last, 30 years has been the mass production of junk food, whether it's Pop-Tarts, whether it's cereal, whether it's something boxed and manufactured, okay? But we're also living in the food of creative inventions, of amazing food. I just ordered new keto bread, okay? I haven't even tried it. I'll do a demo on it later, but not today, but I will be doing. But anyway, a new keto bread. So, what we're doing with food is just amazing, okay? Like literally amazing. I mean,
I've never seen anything like it in all my years of nutrition that I've seen in the last 2 years.
Exactly. So people can't tell me they can't do it, because they can do it. They just got to learn the science of food. It's like my girl came out to me and said, Dr. Connealy, can this patient have this protein drink? I looked at it real quick. I said, no, it's got 16 grams of carbs. Absolutely out, too much. 16 grams of carbs is way too much sugar. So that's what people need to get off of is sugar and junk food and box foods and all the things that are manufactured and man-made. You got to unfortunately got to stick to God-made foods.
So foods without a label. So when we talked earlier about that time frame, that span that we have of when your body is first forming this cancer to the time it shows up, if you start eating those super clean foods, can you discourage the cancer from building to that point? And am I correct in saying it's about a 10-year span?
Yes, it's 10 years. So that means, look how much time we have opportunity. We have health opportunity to prevent cancer just like this, because it's 10 years in the making. So every doctor should be practicing preventive, proactive, personalized medicine. That is the future. No two people are alike, and it's the only way we can go. But there's things every person listening can do, can start to partner with someone. I tell people, I can figure out if you have cancer in a very, very quickly, in 1 or 2 weeks, okay? I can, with the few testing I do, we can figure this out. That's one thing I'm an expert in. So, and I'd like people to see me for prevention and early detection, because We have it today. We have it right now. People don't know it, but we have it today.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's only a 2-week time period. And I want to talk more about what goes on in your clinic. And we're going to get to that because it truly is miraculous. I want to talk about like simple things like sleep. Is there a link between sleep and cancer risk? Because I've read some things that said that it can.
Well, no, sleep is, I tell people the first thing I fix after breathing, you got to breathe to get oxygen. And we all have forgotten how to breathe because we're all under stress and we got to work 12 hours a day and we got to get too much done and we got to think about our breath. And so besides breathing, because, without oxygen, you're 4.5 minutes and you're gone. The second thing is sleep. So sleep is medication basically to your body. Okay. And so we have to focus on sleep, and we've gotten away from sleep since Edison invented electricity and the light bulb. So people are awake all the time because there's lights everywhere. All right. Before, people lived with candles, right? And so people went to bed when it got dark. Well, now people when it gets dark, people are on their computer, they're watching TV, they're doing all kinds of things when they should be sleeping. So we have something called a circadian rhythm. You're supposed to go to bed about 9:30 to 10 and sleep for 8 hours. You are supposed to sleep for 8 hours. Why? Because 8 hours sleep restores your brain, restores inflammation, repairs liver and your kidney and your digestive system, everything, your immune system, everything. So the first thing, and do not take sleeping pills because sleeping pills increase your risk of dying by 34%. So sleeping pills are not an answer. Can you take natural sleep things? Yes. Probably the most important thing you do is eat a very small meal at dinner. You need to exercise every day. You need to go to bed, like I said, without I decided not to do a lot of computer work at nighttime now. I try to wake up early and do it in the morning after I do my devotional. So I do that afterwards and shift my day a little bit different. I'll work a little later because I don't want to get on the blue light with all the stimulation of the computer.
Same.
So, but people have to get to sleep. They can take an Epsom salt bath with 2 cups of Epsom salt. Totally helps you sleep. But sleep is the elixir of life.
It is the elixir of life. But another thing that everyone is faced with is this whole thing about stress and emotional conflict, any stress and conflicts. And I know that you and I have had chats about this. So, and by the way, I really do think that this is your next book. I know the last thing you want to hear about is writing another book. But as I was thinking about this, and people really aren't talking about the fact of conflict in your life and stress in your life, how we talk about, again, that pathway, that 10-year journey that cancer cells take. That really speeds those cancer cells along. And
right.
So talk a little bit about that.
But that's a scientific fact. Okay. I talk about it in my book also about stress. Stress increases your cortisol. Cortisol increases inflammation. Inflammation increases all diseases and causes the growth of cancer and the spread of cancer. So the first thing that we all need to do is resolve any emotional conflict. And a lot of times we don't know that we have that. I will tell you, most of the time people know that we have it though, but they're not willing to address themselves. I started my emotional journey 20 years ago. I was getting a divorce and my life was upside down. I have 3 babies under the age of 5. And my life was a mess. And one of my employees said, Dr. Connealy, you need to go see this therapist. And I went, what could he do? So sure enough, after 2 promptings, I said, okay, I have nothing to lose. Let me go. Well, that was the beginning of my enlightenment on life. And it was the best thing I ever did in my entire life. I still do things today because I've spent 20 years studying the emotional balance of a human being, because I tell people every day, whatever I do, whatever your surgeon does, whatever your oncologist does, if you do not resolve emotional conflict, you will not get better. Period. So I tell people, there's no sense in getting treatment unless you decide on emotional conflict resolution. You have to work with someone. It could be a minister, it could be a life coach. In our clinic, we do e-box. I have other sources that I use. And every day, that's why I give all the patients healing affirmations, because happy thoughts make happy molecules. And we all need to be programmed every day. I read the book years ago, Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, 20 plus years ago. And now it has been proven that we have wiring in our brains and recording, broken record recordings, good and bad, and all of us have it. Don't think you're weak if you have emotional conflicts. No one's weak. Everybody has them, just different names.
And you can't erase them. You can't erase these conflicts.
You can. And it's the best thing that any human being will ever do to take care of themselves is get their body and mind in complete resolution. Honestly, they will, their whole life will change.
I think a lot of this, and I think the reason why this is hard for so many people is because that involves what I think is one of the hardest things to do in life, which is shed people. So a lot of times that conflict, the result of that conflict, or really getting to resolve, I should say, means that sometimes you have to let people go. And that's really hard for people. And I think that's why that one piece of the pie, and I completely agree with you, in order to have that clean slate, or I call it the white light, and really to really engage in that clean slate of life where life becomes so abundant and everything just starts attracting into your life, you can't have all of those little tentacles of toxicity, so to speak. They all have to be resolved. And sometimes it's as hard as dismissing people from your life that you may not want to.
Right. Well, I tell people, because we think about family, the family unit, all right? And we're all taught that we need to love and take care of the family unit. And there's absolutely, I totally agree with that, okay? We are all in a community, whether it's your family or the people around you. And we're all here to be of service to mankind. But sometimes you're going to have toxicity with people, whether they're verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive, whatever, okay? And I always tell people, you might be related, but you don't need to be connected to that person.
That's beautiful.
And so, right. And so, because people always think, oh, well, this is my mom, or this is so-and-so, or this is my aunt. And I go, oh, that's great. But first of all, I need you to take care of yourself and get yourself whole, so that toxicity projected at you will not affect you. And so you've got to develop your emotional quotient, so to speak, in order for you to withstand other things. And so we're just not, in our society, we're not taught that is what we need to do. And it's the first and foremost. I kind of put the spiritual emotional together, okay, because I think they go hand in hand.
Sure.
And so, but I tell people, go and do whatever treatment, but I promise you, because that's why I tell every person the first visit is to get emotional work. I do their blood, and then I go, you have to do emotional work. And that's just not for cancer. That can be for other illnesses also.
I agree. It makes a big difference. So if anyone's listening and they need to make that shift, look at this as a sign to take action. And another external force that we can talk about is this whole idea of electrosmog. And, I know now, I used to talk about depleters and different things that I felt depleted the body. And this was one of them. And it wasn't until I was looking into these depleters, so to speak, that I realized that this electrosmog, there's actual scientific basis for this, that a lot of, these towers and a lot of our devices, they may be somehow injuring us. So can you talk a little bit about that? And is that one of those precursors to potential cancer?
Well, that's a great question, because it's one of my very serious pet peeves, because I'm very sensitive with electrosmog. So for all of our listeners out there, though, they need to understand electrosmog, because a lot of people, they live in it and they just think, okay, this is the new part of my life. It's like microwaves, and microwaves came out. Everybody go, oh my God, this is so great. And we can just warm up things in 15 seconds and voila, it's all ready. Well, now we know the dangers of microwaves, okay? Well, microwave is an energy, okay? It is an invisible energy wave that actually is destructive to you. So with the electrosmog we have with iPads and cell phones and towers and satellites, okay, we have now this outrageous invisible energy web called electrosmog. So if you look at the design of the body is basically your DNA, and your DNA is this beautifully coiled double-stranded ladder with all of these amino acids, all right? And it's coiled. It's not straight. If it's rigid, there's a problem. So it perfectly flows. If you look at it with in a video, it's just this perfectly flowing, beautiful thing that is taking care of you every single nanosecond. Well, all DNA is a receiver and transmitter of information, okay? Electrosmog is negative energy to your DNA. So you are damaging your DNA daily, okay? Because we not only have electrosmog, we've got heavy metals, we have all the toxicity from plastics, and I mean, I can go on and on and on, okay? So it creates, the unfortunate electrosmog creates this terrible damage to your DNA, which is what protects you and makes you take care of yourself every day, all right? So this electrosmog is very, very dangerous. I know that I can't escape it, okay? I have my ways of dealing with it, which we can talk about later. I talk about it in my book, and I'm always coming up with new creative things, okay? Always, because when something's on my mind, I just ponder it till I get an answer. And so it is a very serious problem. Do not let anyone tell you that it's nothing, because they will, they just came out with a study on Science Direct about how EMFs, you know, destroy the skin and create skin changes. And then they said, oh, that's been debunked. Listen, we in the field of science, part of science is called observation. If I treat you and I do whatever I do, that's observation, that worked for you, okay? We have to take everything into consideration, because wow, if it worked for you, well, maybe it might help the next 10 people, all right? So we need to be cooperative and collaborative and get rid of people and stop saying that things are conspiracy theories. They're not conspiracy theory. It's another way of thinking. So don't discount another human's great idea.
I agree. I agree. Well, and now it's not, these things aren't just ideas.
No, they're not ideas. You're right. It is proven. On your cell phone package, it says it's carcinogenic.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I did an experiment years ago when my daughter, who's 26 now, she did a science experiment in 8th grade on how electromagnetic fields affect a living substance. So we grew wheatgrass, we grew other vegetables. I measured people's head with before use of cell phone, 1 minute, 5 minute, hour, and 5 hours after cell phone use. And we saw how the brain became inflamed with thermography after a person used their cell phone. You can measure it with a meter, okay? Just like you're checking the EKG for energy, we're measuring the energy of things, and these are energies that are negative forces on us, and we need to be more protective of ourselves, because now this is everywhere, between the satellites and the cell phones and the iPad and all the, you know, I don't know how many cell phones there are in operation now, 5 billion cell phones, okay? Yes, yes, there's some technology I like right now, we're able to tell a lot of people what we know, and this is what's great too about technology. But we also need to, I always tell people, if we bring something new, let's look at the good, bad, and the ugly and learn how to protect not only ourselves, but our children to come. And I will tell you, we know now, you know, people today, their health, we know it's not good. Infertility has dropped. You know, fertility rates are dramatically lower. We know they've dropped 50% in the last 30 years. So we know that we're damaging humanity because procreation has been inhibited.
It has been inhibited. Are there any other, Dr. Connealy? So that's, something that we use every day. So just as a brainstorming, is there anything that we are accustomed to using or that we use every day that we need to stop and pause? You talked a little bit about heavy metals. Like, is there anything that causes us to interface with that? Is there anything in our daily habits that we usually use that we need to stop and pause? A lot.
Well, yes, there's a lot, because everything we drink, eat, and breathe is affecting us. Okay, everything. There's toxicity in everything. Listen, if the umbilical cord has over 250 chemicals and the breast milk has hundreds of chemicals, we know that one of the chemicals is carcinogenic, much less the combination thereof of the chemicals. So what people need to do is we have to honor and respect the laws of our body, okay? But you have to know the laws of your body, okay? The laws and rules of your body. One we just talked about in sleep, etc. But sleep and the water and the eating and all that. But you must cleanse every day, okay? We must cleanse every day. We do not have enough technology available today to get rid of all the toxicity all over the world.
Hallelujah on that. Hallelujah on that. I hope everyone heard that too. We must cleanse. We must find a way to cleanse every day.
Right. So take a pause. Yeah, the most important thing that you must take a pause in every single day is before you wake up and get out of bed, you need to be in an attitude of gratitude. And I want everyone to think of all the things they're grateful for. And I want you to things that you don't have, be grateful for those things. But I will tell you that that's what I live my day in gratitude, not just for good things, because bad things are always going to happen. And you will be surprised that all the bad things that happen are for you to become enlightened and you to learn and you to bless someone else with your enlightenment.
I agree. And to get into that place, in order to do that, in order to get into that place of gratitude, in order to get in that place where we realize that's really humanity's journey, it does take some centering. How do you center every day? For me, I meditate after workout. I find that in order to really get something like that done, like meditation, you have to attach it onto a habit. And for me, I work out every day like you, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It's very important to me. So right after that, I instantly go into a meditation and I think about gratitude, and I focus on different areas of my body and life and how I can share my gifts. But how do you personally, and what would you tell patients? How do you get into that center? Because, we're going through a lot right now, Dr. Connealy, more than ever. Now, I know you've been a practitioner, a top doctor for many years. You've heard it all, you've seen it all. But now we're hearing and seeing more than we ever have, ever.
Right.
Unprecedented. So we have, in order for us to feel that gratitude, I know a lot of us espouse, myself included, this importance and significance of having this attitude of gratitude. But I think in order to really capture that, again, we have to be in that place, centered in that place, to really want to receive this. How would you tell someone, to just start anyone who's depressed or feels that anxiety and all these things that we're feeling? How, momentum begets momentum. So what would you tell them to start?
Right. Well, what I do, because I have to be in a very regular regimentation, which I am, okay, because I can't do what I want to do and what I want to accomplish if I do not take exquisite care of myself. That's just all there is to it. And everybody needs to take exquisite care of themselves.
And that's not posh, and that's not high end, and that's not selfish.
Right.
It's none of those things.
No.
Your cells demand this. They
Right.
actually demand it. And when you don't give it to them, they fight back. So
Right.
it's actually a requirement. It's like a nutrient.
Right. And people think, oh my God, it takes so much time. And I'm like, no, you decide what you're going to put your energy into. Yes. Like, I don't do things that are not going to serve me well. All right. So for me, sleep is critical. Okay. But before I go to sleep, I don't try to do computer work. I always try to have dinner with my family. It might be my husband. Since the corona, it's been with rotating children, which has been a wonderful thing, to prepare dinner together and cook it together and clean up together.
Yes.
Okay. and just be in that community and having just human connection, which I always say we're a disconnected, connected society. So I believe a lot. And then I calm down. And what I like to do is I listen to, there's a frequency called Solomon frequency, and anyone can look that up. And it's a frequency to get your body in perfect harmony. Okay. And how I do, because I live in gratitude all day long. So if I'm driving, I just am thinking like, oh my God, look at the sun. It's so beautiful.
And she really does do this, guys, because every time I have a conversation with Dr. Connealy, she goes down that path. I'm not kidding you. I'm just grateful that I was given this gift. I was given the messages to do. I'm just grateful that she does it every time. You always go back to gratitude. You truly do.
I do. And now, and I learned this because I had a coach. My staff suggested that I get this coach, and a friend of mine told me about this coach, and I go, okay, I'll do this for 3 months. And then I remember years ago, I listening to Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese Buddhist, and I was listening to a cassette tape that's a long time ago, and he taught me, in the tape it says how to turn negative seeds into positive seeds, and that was life-changing for me. And that's what I do with everything I do and everything, because we all are going to have disaster. We're all going to have uncomfortable times, uncomfortable people, terrible things that are going to happen. But we've got to say, how am I going to turn this into the gift of the universe? And so because of this process that I've gone through, I can't help but live in gratitude every single minute. Now, if I'm seeing patients, I'm not in gratitude because I'm laser focusing on the patients. But when I go walk down the hall to tell so-and-so something, the first thing that comes in my mind, literally, you guys, because I practice this, is, oh my God, thank God that I get to work here, okay? And thank God that we have plants here. Plants, I love real plants, and I love real plants in my office. And thank God that we have an air purifier here. I'm just, these little things. It's not really big things, because that's not what's important. It isn't.
You trained your mind. The thing is, guys, and like I said, I am not kidding you. She does it every conversation all the time. I believe it's beautiful. I believe you've trained yourself to do that. It's just where your mind goes. It just, like you said, those seeds, you planted the seeds of positivity, and you have to fertilize that and plant that. And one of the ways I believe that we feel better and we feel like we're in this level of positivity, we were talking about, toxic and detoxifying our body. You mentioned Epsom salts, and that's what I do every night. That's very important to me. It's critically important to me, actually, because that's kind of my sleep medication, so to speak. What else can we do that's natural and easy on our bodies to help us detoxify? We talked about detoxifying every day. Any hints on that?
Okay, so there is, because you must cleanse every single day. So, and I change my protocol up all the time. First of all, I have an infrared sauna. Well, not everybody has an infrared sauna, but I've had an infrared sauna in my office and at home for 19 years. Infrared sauna is the single best investment you can make.
No doubt.
In your health, okay? So now, if you don't have a sauna, so what I tell people to do is I tell them to get Epsom salts and get one of those big bags, because you're going to use it a lot. 2 cups of Epsom salts with 1 cup of baking soda, because baking soda is actually oxygenating to your body with clay. And so they make this, and it's relaxing. It's putting magnesium in your body, oxygen in your body, and clay detoxifies from everything. So, and then a lot of times I give my patients a nano-sized clay, okay, charcoal. And the charcoal is C60, okay? It's a carbon. So charcoal is carbon. So in the emergency rooms, believe it or not, when you are sick with a toxin, if you accidentally take 20 Tylenol, they give you charcoal, right? They give you that to get it out, okay, in the emergency room. So they make a nano-size. Nano-size is really, really small molecules. And this is dispersed in olive. It has great studies about all kinds of things. One, detoxifying, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, anti-aging, everything. The other thing, if you don't use that, because not everybody can take certain supplements. So I always say there's no one size fits all. But the other thing that I've used for probably 20 years is zeolite. So zeolite is a volcanic ash mineral, okay? Now there's different kinds. It's very inexpensive though. Zeolite is very cheap. And that will basically sop up any chemical, whether it's heavy metals, whether it's any kind of toxicity. So it has the shape of a perfect shape of a honeycomb. And this honeycomb, if you ever looked at it up close with a honeycomb, the chemical is captured by this honeycomb shape. It's just like perfect. And zeolite is something you can easily take. It's, you know, it doesn't taste like anything, and you can easily take it. Now, one of the cheapest, most inexpensive things you can do is fast. Fasting is amazing. So fasting is nothing new. It's been around. And when I tell people, well, you can fast, and they go, well, what does that mean? And I go, well, it means different things to different people. So there's the big buzzword today is intermittent fasting, which is nothing new. Okay. But they have it wrong in the way that you eat. Most people do intermittent fasting by not eating all morning. Well, your morning is when you honor your circadian rhythm, your morning time is like, okay, it's time to go. It's time to be productive. My cortisol is good. So if you have all your hormones going strong, you need food to be processed. Where you should be fasting is your last meal should be about 5 o'clock. I know that's very hard for a lot of people, but it should be your last meal should be like a nice salad, not really any protein, but a nice salad, a nice soup, maybe a protein drink, something like that. Because why? When you go to bed, remember, it's all metabolizing and correcting and anti-inflammatory. It's designed to take care of you. So you want your nighttime from 5 p.m. till you wake up the next morning to be in repair, rejuvenation, or restorative mode. So that's something you can do easy, doesn't cost any money. Now, sometimes I tell my patients, okay, you need to go on a 30-day fast. Some of my patients, I do 3 days on, 4 days off. I always ask my patients, what do you think you can do? And I meet my patient where they are. So if they think they can do 1 day a week, I go, okay, that's what we're going to do. So, but fasting, your body goes in autophagy, which is meaning eating the garbage of the body. And it disposes everything and repairs and makes your stem cells take care of you, repairs every organ. Like if you have fatty liver, which is 50% of the population, you get rid of fatty liver very quickly by fasting. So that's one other thing.
So I love the fasting idea, but what about if you were to give somebody, say, the top, say, 3 supplements that they could take to take care of themselves in addition to the fasting? Not just for detoxification, but just for overall health. Because one of the things I enjoyed about your clinic, when I visited your clinic, you have the best supplements that exist. And so what would you say to somebody who said, you know, just I want to go on a protocol or a program so I can really thwart off that 10-year process? What would you tell them? Is there a couple that you just absolutely love?
Right. Well, 2 things I would tell, 3 things I would tell people they absolutely have to do. Let's pretend for a moment that people eat well, and people think they eat well, but I tell people we have to make sure you eat well. 92% of the population is deficient in 1 or more nutrients.
Yes.
92. Number 2. So you have 70 trillion cells. The wall of every cell of your body is made up of something called essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids, the membrane is where everything happens, okay? Remember I talked about that cells are receivers and transmitters of energy. So you need to have healthy fats. So everybody's eating a lot of fake fats and all the processed foods, plus people don't have enough good fats. So that can be from vegetarian sources or from fish. Those are the 2 sources. So I would say you need an oil change every day, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You need vitamin D because vitamin D influences over 3,000 genes in your body, and it protects you from brain problems, heart problems, immune problems, everything. So you got to do that. And over 95% of the population is low in vitamin D. Now, the other thing that I tell people to take that's very inexpensive is some form of vitamin C. We are the only mammals on the planet who do not make their own vitamin C. Every other mammal makes their own vitamin C except humans. Well, what do we live in? We live in a life of stress, toxicity, overstimulating. We deplete our vitamin C levels. So I believe every single person should take some food-based vitamin C or some C. I don't care how they get it, but they should be on C.
How about zinc? Is zinc a significant?
Well, zinc is important for, great immune system. Okay. I'm not going to get into the corona at all. I'm just going to talk about, immune system. So zinc.
People asking about zinc. So
yeah, zinc is a very important mineral to support the immune system, and especially zinc is important for the vitality of the immune system. So, but everything's important to your immune system, okay? Everything we're talking about is important to the immune system. Zinc just happens to be one of the nutrients that's very important.
One of the things that you say that I found so profound, there's so many things that you said, and I'm trying to move us along because we're just about out of time, and I'm so sad. We have to have you back because there's so much more to say. But I want to just ask, you say this, and it was astounding to me. You say that when we first get cancer, or when someone is diagnosed with cancer, they say, oh my gosh, they feel like, I just want to get this thing out of me, and they want to take immediate action. And you say, you know what? Not so fast. Why do you say that?
Well, because first of all, you're in shock. So when you're in shock, you haven't even had time to really examine what's happened and what's going on. And we have to do due diligence on anything big you're going to do. So I prepare all my patients for a biopsy, for surgery, for anything big. I don't care if they're going for elective surgery. I prepare my patients so it has the best outcome. So, and then I want the patient to hear all their options, whether it's from me, because I'm not the end all. There are other people that know things. So go talk to this doctor, go talk to this one, and hear everything. And we were born with a gut level feel, and we're going to know what sounds best for us. Please don't try to do it on your own. We are designed to all help each other. Don't do it on your own. Go and listen to an expert in whatever you're trying to figure out, whatever, if it's we're talking about health right now. First of all, we're living in the abundance of information. I mean, outrageous abundance, okay? But your gut level is going to tell you, okay, this sounds right for me.
This sounds great for me. That is it in a nutshell. And you say, you know what, if it does happen and you do get cancer and you take this time and you look at everything and you look at all of the facts, you charge in your gut instinct. You say, it's actually, if you're going to get cancer, this is actually the best time to get cancer.
Right.
These days and times. And why is that?
Well, because what we know now, well, first of all, we know so much about prevention and early detection that every single doctor, not only in the United States, around the world, could be doing it. They just don't know, okay? They just don't know. This is the sad part. So you got to find people who know, there's experts in all kinds of things. Find that expert who is very passionate about early detection and prevention and say, you know what? I want you to, my patients tell me, look, Dr. Kellyann, I want you to figure this out right now. And I know you can figure it out, and you figure it out. And that's what they tell me to do. And usually, and they're not afraid, they're not scared, and I am figuring it out for them. And I explain the whole time why I do everything. And if you read my book, it's for cancer, but it could be for diabetes. It could be for Alzheimer's or anything. I talk about everything in that book.
This is a great book. I read it front to back, by the way. Everyone should read this, even as a preventative. Even as a preventative, they should read it. Love that.
Right. So, I tell people, I encourage my patients, go visit the surgeon, go visit the oncologist, go visit whoever, get as many opinions as you want, because you're making the decision for your special miracle that you have possession.
And you know what? And here's something that's going to blow everyone's mind. And this is probably my favorite thing that you've ever said. In fact, it is for sure. You said the future of cancer is energy. So we're talking about something as mean and viral and virulent as cancer. And you're saying the future is energy. Define that.
Well, I think excuse me, I think everything, because we just now learned, I mean, I don't want to say we just learned, because a lot of energy started with Nikola Tesla. And there was another doctor, oh gosh, what was his name? I can't remember his name. He's a French doctor. But anyway, I read his book called The Secret of Light. And when I read that book, it was just the most outrageous, like, revelation for me. Like, here we are. We just got to figure this out now. And we've got to be open to all the invisible solutions on the planet. But I will tell you that every cell that's resonating in your body is an energetic machine for you. Okay. And so once we decide that, I always tell people, if you've ever fallen in love, okay, or if you've ever embraced your child, what just happened is an energy transfer, right? Because you can't bottle it, but you can tell the person how you feel after you have hugged a loved one, right? And so the future really of medicine is energy. Once we all take the leashes off of knowledge and we don't suppress this vital information that every person needs to know.
And that's beautiful. I want to wrap this up by asking this question. You know, you've seen so much. And like I said, I've been to the clinic. I have extensively seen the goings on and the treatments that they have. You know, anyone that has cancer or wants to get an evaluation, I would absolutely send them. It has a Dr. Kellyann stamp of approval to the 10th degree. And I want to know this. You've seen so many cancer patients, Dr. Connealy, I hear so often that people find that their cancer was a gift. And, you know, the gift of cancer, they call it.
Right.
Why, how can this be? I mean, it sounds like such an oxymoron to me. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. Cancer, a gift, but yet I hear this over and over again. I've had my own personal feelings in regard to this. So tell me, is cancer for some a gift?
Well, I hear that all the time from patients. They say it's a blessing, because I think it's the first time in their life they're really getting to know who they are. And we meander through life, because life is this machine. Okay, you know, now you go to preschool, and then you go to school, and then you go to this, and what are you going to do in school, and where are you going to go to college, and then what are you going to do for the rest of your life? It's never about who we really are. And we all need to take the time and the devotion, the due diligence to really understand the genius that we all possess.
And we all have our personal genius, and you certainly have yours. And I thank you so much for sharing it with us. We have to do more work. I mean, there's so much more I want to ask you. We are out of time. I want to keep this to form so we can put it on all of our formats, because I want to really share this message out in a big way. Dr. Connealy, thank you so much. Please tell everyone where they can get more of you. And again, just before she tells us where to find her, I want to say that I personally endorse her clinic. It is unbelievable. The treatments that they're doing there are treatments that you see that, you know, we used to have to go overseas, and we would send patients overseas. You don't even need to do that anymore. She's got a beautiful clinic in California with absolutely the best modalities, and, you know, she's full of information, and she's got that great blend of, you know, integrative medicine.
Right.
She really does. She addresses it on both levels. So how can we find more of you, Dr. Connealy?
Well, people can just go to ConnealyMD.com, and I'm on Instagram. I just started TikTok this week.
Oh God, not yet. I can't do it yet. I can't.
Oh, well, these young people, they
bless
really
them.
know that. But ConnealyMD.com tells everything, or Cancer Center for Healing. And if you want to just get optimized, it's centerfornewmedicine.com.
Okay,
So,
well, thank you so much, everyone.
well,
Check
thank
it
you,
out.
Kellyann, for everything you're doing, and partnering together, we can change the world.
I believe that with all of my heart. So we are going to sign off with all the gratitude tonight. Speaking of gratitude, I have been grateful for all of you watching, viewing, and certainly for Dr. Connealy for contributing to us tonight at Doctor's Night Out. You will catch us every Thursday night for a deep dive. We will also have our panels, and during the day, we have our quick fire. So join us again for another episode of Doctor's Night Out. Until then, we are signing off with all the peace and all the love. Thanks again, Dr. Connealy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.